Some stories, they're etched in stone. Their warnings just echo through the millennia. Today, we're going to unseal one of history's most terrifying legends, the curse of the boy king, Tutankhamun. It's a tale of unimaginable treasure, sudden death, and a warning that seems to come from beyond the grave itself.
This was the chilling inscription they said was found guarding the tomb, a promise of doom for anyone who dared to break that sacred 3,000-year-old seal. And you know what? It didn't take long for that promise to be kept.
So let me introduce you to Lord Carnarvon. He was a wealthy British aristocrat, the man who poured a fortune into finding Tutankhamun. And just a few short months after making the discovery of a lifetime, there he is, on his deathbed in a Cairo hotel, completely consumed by a raging fever.
At precisely 1:55 in the morning, right as Carnarvon takes his very last breath, something bizarre happens. The lights across the entire city of Cairo just flicker and die, throwing everything into this eerie, profound darkness. A coincidence? Or was it something else? That blackout in Cairo? That wasn't the only strange event. Thousands of miles away, back on his estate in England, Carnarvon's favorite dog reportedly let out one last, mournful howl and then just fell silent. It was as if the curse could stretch across continents.
Now, Lord Carnarvon's death wasn't just some isolated incident. Oh no, it was really just the first domino to fall. What came next was a wave of mysterious, untimely deaths that would forever cement the legend of the Pharaoh's curse in our minds.
The body count just started to climb. In 1923, a financier named George J. Gould visited the tomb. He was dead from a fever the very next day. In 24, Sir Archibald Reed, the guy who actually x-rayed the mummy, died suddenly. By 1929, Richard Bethel, the archaeologist's secretary, he was gone too. It was like one by one, anyone who had touched the tomb was now being touched by death.
By 1929, the number of deaths that were linked, either directly or indirectly, to opening that tomb had reached 22. The world's newspapers went into a complete frenzy. Every new death was just another terrifying chapter in the story.
The tragedies were all different, but they all trace back to that one moment in the Valley of the Kings. The secretary to the lead archaeologist died, and then, in his grief, his elderly father just took his own life. People started whispering. The curse could even reach across generations.
And then came the discovery that just seemed to shut down any doubt. While they were doing the autopsy on the 3,000-year-old mummy, the examiners found a small lesion on its left cheek. And you won't believe this, it was in the very same spot as the infected mosquito bite that had killed Lord Carnarvon. It felt like the Pharaoh's final, chilling signature.
A vindictive spirit, a powerful curse reaching out from beyond the grave. I mean, the whole world was convinced. It's a perfect story, right? But the truth is often way more fascinating and a lot more complicated than even the most terrifying legend.
To really unravel this myth of the curse, first we have to understand the boy at the center of it all. See, this wasn't some mighty, all-powerful pharaoh like Ramesses the Great. This was Tutankhamun.
He was just a young, frail kid who took the throne as a child. He was the product of generations of inbreeding, and his body was just racked with genetic problems. He had a club foot that was so bad he couldn't even walk without one of the 130 canes they found in his tomb. He had bone disease, he had malaria, and he died before he was even 20. In fact, he was considered so unimportant historically that the pharaohs who came after him literally wiped his name from their records. And the irony here is just incredible. That act of erasing him is exactly what saved him. Because he was forgotten, his tomb was never found by robbers. It just stayed sealed, a perfect time capsule, waiting for millennia.
So, this forgotten king, basically a footnote in history, somehow becomes the source of one of the world's most powerful legends. So where did the curse actually come from? Well, it's time to separate the facts from the fiction. Let's start with the very foundation of the curse, that famous inscription, "Death shall come on swift wings." Turns out, it was a lie. It never existed. There was no clay tablet, no ancient warning. It was completely made up, invented by journalists to sell a sensational story.
And what about all those spooky coincidences? That citywide blackout, totally normal in 1920s Cairo. The dog's death actually happened hours later when you factor in the time zones. And Lord Carnarvon, he was a man in very poor health. In a world before penicillin, an infected insect bite was often a death sentence. Scientists even think that toxic, dormant mold inside the sealed tomb could have made people seriously ill.
So, science finally put this legend to the test. A 2002 study in the British Medical Journal compared the lifespans of the people who were exposed to the tomb against a similar group who weren't. The result? There was no curse effect. The average age of death for both groups was nearly identical, right around 70 years old, a totally normal lifespan for that time.
But maybe the most compelling evidence against the curse isn't found in who died, but in who lived, the very people who should have been the prime targets. Just take a look at this list. Lady Evelyn, she was Carnarvon's daughter and one of the first people inside. She lived to be 78. Dr. Douglas Derry, the man who performed the autopsy and physically unwrapped the mummy, lived to the ripe old age of 87. And then, of course, there was the man at the very center of it all, Howard Carter. The man who dedicated his entire life to this search. The one who made the first breach in the doorway, the very first person to lay eyes on all that treasure. I mean, if the curse was real, he should have been the first to die. Instead, he lived for another 16 years and died of natural causes at 64. For years, reporters would hound him about the curse, and his answer was always the same simple, undeniable fact: I am still alive. The ancient Egyptians had this profound belief. You only truly die when your name is spoken for the last time. For 3,000 years, Tutankhamun was dead. His name was erased, his tomb was lost, his memory completely forgotten. The discovery in 1922 didn't unleash a curse that kills. It did the opposite. It resurrected a forgotten king, and it granted him the one thing every pharaoh ever wanted: eternal life.
Thank you for watching this incredible story. Please like and share for more amazing videos.